is like a law of nature. It's absolutely everywhere. Not only that, it's fractal, which means there's an 80-20 and an 80-20 and 80-20.
Guys who haven't read 80-20 Sales and Marketing, you must, because it really does. I've seen it before, like, like Perry's done some stuff on Facebook ads and TikTok now, but like when you get into these ad platforms, and it really doesn't matter which one you get into, like folks tell me all the time, it's overwhelming. And I get it. Cause like there's, Facebook, I remember there's like, how many different networks do you want to put it on this button? And you got this targeting, this setting, and all of it can like,
right.
When you start to realize, one of the things that he has an awesome capacity for in the book is to break that down to like, what are the 3 or 4 things that matter? And then you start to realize, they're just tools to reach humans. The offer making, let's get the offer right. Let's put it in front of the right people. When you really nail the basics, what happens is I find all of these ad platforms, regardless of what types of campaigns you're running, they get easier because you focus on the stuff that's actually going to move the needle. And it gets away from all the kind of common, so quote unquote common wisdom. Because when I listened to the common wisdom before you, Perry, by the way, about like Facebook ads, is I had like 10,000 mediocre split tests running where we're trying, like you said, if we replace easy with free, and we're testing too many things and missing the big picture is like, who's on the other side of the ad? Why are they buying? What are they going through? What's their kind of customer journey? So I love that. I wonder if you have any other tidbits on just helping folks really understand their customers better and do that kind of like faster. Cause it seems like the real secret to the ads is not any of the technology, but it's the psychology of the person on the other side of the ad.
So here's how my Google Ads trajectory happened. So 2 months after AdWords was brand new, out of the box, nobody even knows what this is. 2 months later, I started using Google Ads. And about 9 months later, I read Richard Koch's book, The 80-20 Principle. Yeah. And it was like a lightning bolt. And I tell the story in my 80-20 book. I suddenly realized, wait a minute, this is like a law of nature. It's absolutely everywhere. Not only that, it's fractal, which means there's an 80-20 and an 80-20 and 80-20. And so at this point, I've been using Google for 9 months. And I've kind of got it sort of figured out, roughly. And I suddenly realized this is 100% 80-20 all the way through. Every column in that Google account, every ad group, every campaign, every ad, every tracking number, every website, it's all 80-20. And every single time, there's 20% of this that produces 80% and 80% that only produces 20%. And this is about just chopping off that unimportant part and ignoring it. You either shut it off, or you set the bid prices really low, and then you focus all your attention on, and it's like there's these little it's like this campaign, this keyword, this ad group, this website, this landing page, the intersection of these 16 things, 0.1% of my campaign is producing 50% of everything, and all the leverage is there. And then there's a negative version. So there's the stuff that makes you the money, and it's like there's the 1% that makes you the money. And then there's the 1% that's losing all your money. And it's just about iterating. And once I realized that, I suddenly understood it. It was like, got it. And my very, very first 80-20 book in 2003, it had a chapter on 80-20 near the end. And in fact, I was asked to speak about Google AdWords shortly after I had read Richard's book. And because that speaking invitation came, all of a sudden, well, I got to write a book, and here we go. And that's how my whole thing began. And so literally from the beginning, it was, everybody thinks this is about Google Ads. It's really about 80-20. And then fast forward 10 years, I said, let's see, I think if I wrote an 80/20 book, it would sell, even though nobody's really asking for 80/20 because this is so powerful. I don't know, knock on wood, let's see. And I wrote the book and people were like, yes, because now you gave me the master toolkit. I've had all kinds of people tell me, well, I read your Google book in 2007, and then I went on to something else. And I'm not using Google anymore, but I used LinkedIn and I just applied the principles there. And then I did Instagram and I applied the principles
Yeah.
there. And then I did TikTok and I applied the principles there. And yes, because my goal was not really to teach them Google ads. My goal was to give them a marketing education.
Yeah. I love
But
that.
you need I'm not sure if it's from a mathematical perspective or from a philosophical perspective, you need the 80 to reveal a 20, right? So
yes, you do.
So let's say, okay, so let's say you use simple numbers. You have 100 keywords, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I start with 100 keywords. Now, 2 months, and I see this. I mean, I've seen probably thousands of separate Google Ads accounts over the last decade, and it's true. It is true, like you said, it is, let's say, extrapolated across every column, across every metric. It seems to be fractal. Okay, so you start with 100 keywords. And then the 80/20 principle reveals to me that 20 of these 100 are great. They're great keywords, right? Okay.
Yes.
So
yes.
fantastic. So now I either ignore or I marginalize or I shut off 80 out of those 100 keywords. And now I'm left with 20 winners. Okay, now, so the logical next step would be that somebody reading this or somebody trying to replicate these principles would be like, okay, I'm just going to try to start with 20. But now if I start with 20, now my 80/20 principle reveals that there's only 4 keywords that are really. Now, who's better off? The practitioner who wound up with 4 keywords and is happy with those 4, or is it the practitioner who started off with 100 and wound up with 20 and is happy with those 20? Or is there a point where you could over-index on 80/20 and you end up missing or never having the opportunity to discover potentially very, very good profitable channels, keywords, tracking numbers, whatever it may be, because I'm searching for Shangri-La, which is mathematically impossible because there's always 20% of whatever the hell you're doing that's going to be better than 80%. Do you understand what I'm asking? Am I being clear?
Yes. And so I'll give you a couple different answers to that. So one answer to that is, if you look at your relationship with your wife, and let's say that you've dated her for 2 years and then you asked her to get married.
There's no 80/20. She's right 100% of the time.
You could say, right, you could say, what date caused her to say yes? And you go, oh, well, the one on July 14. You go, so I should have just asked her out on July 14 and skipped all the other dates. Like, that's ridiculous.
Right.
Like, it is true that July 14 was like a really red letter date in your relationship, but it took all the others. And that can be true with keywords too. You can find, well, these keywords did not cause the conversion, but they searched 16 times and they did all these things and they went through all these other keywords and then they bought, and I stopped bidding on these keywords and they all stopped. So let's take back to your 100 versus the 20. It depends on your budget. If you have, let's say you're a big company and you have a big budget and you're smart, which is kind of rare for both of those things to happen at the same time.
Tax, as he likes to call it. The AdWords stupid tax.
Right. But if you have a large budget and you're paying attention and you know what you're doing, you start with 1,000 keywords and find all kinds of little things that somebody with a small budget would have never been able to do. And maybe you start with 1,000, you narrow it down to 200, and then with your 200, then there's 40 that are really important, and then there's like 8 that are super important, and there's 1 or 2 that are incredibly important, and you optimize the snot out of those very few, and you still have this diversity of all the other many. But it may also be that you're on a very skinny budget, and the best you can really do is pick some subsegment of that market that nobody's really paying attention to. And you go, well, I can't compete selling potbelly pigs, but I can compete selling Vietnamese potbelly pigs. And there's like 20 keywords for that market, and I'm just going to do that. So you're exactly right. There's always 100% somewhere.
Yeah.
You're never going to change that.
Hey guys, if you like this video, you'll also like my book on Amazon called Beyond the Agency Box, which you can also find by my name, Frankie Finn, and it's got a lot of awesome reviews. And it really just goes deeper on a lot of things we're talking about, everything you need to grow and start a lifestyle agency, from the stages you'll go through to getting clients, to how to create winning offers, to high value deliverables, to wowing clients, to building teams, to building systems, and building a boring factory that's like a 7-figure money machine for you. So if you're interested, I put links for you in the video description, as well as it'll be in the pinned top comment below, and make sure to check those out.